Kellogg has arrived in Kyiv. Russia is still not ready for a ceasefire, and Canada is considering sending troops to Ukraine. You are watching Channel 24, and these are the top stories right now. What do you think about it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The United States expect peace in Ukraine to be achieved within the next 6 months. However, Washington does not plan to send troops as a part of any security guarantees for Kyiv, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance told NBC News. Vance says Russia isn't ready to agree to a ceasefire just yet, but he believes the U.S. president still has tools that could push Moscow toward that decision.
Now, you said sanctions were not going to lead to a ceasefire. I think that's obviously correct. If you look at the way the Russians have conducted themselves, they don't want to ceasefire. They don't want a ceasefire for complicated reasons. We, of course, have pushed for a ceasefire. But again, we don't control what Russia does. If we did, the war would have been over 7 months ago. What we do believe, though, is that we continue to have a lot of cards. The President of the United States has a lot of cards left to play to apply pressure to try to bring this conflict to a close. And that's what we're going to do.
J.D. Vance also spoke about security guarantees for Ukraine, saying they can only be put in place once the war is over. He made clear the U.S. won't be sending troops, but will stay deeply involved in making sure Ukrainians get solid, lasting security assurances. Kellogg is in Ukraine, the U.S. Special Envoy for Russia and Ukraine. He's arriving alongside Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. Kellogg was at the Independence Day celebration in the Sofia Square, right in the heart of Kyiv, where President Volodymyr Zelensky presented him with an award. Zelensky is set to meet the U.S. Special Envoy for Russia and Ukraine on the 25th of August in Kyiv. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian leader also held a one-on-one meeting with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney during the Independence Day events in the Ukrainian capital. The main focus is, of course, security guarantees and financial support for Ukraine. Kyiv is counting on Canada to play an active role in shaping and providing these guarantees as a part of the coalition of the willing. President Zelensky stressed that he expects Canadian forces to be deployed in Ukraine, and Canada's Prime Minister did not rule out this possibility.
We are working with our allies and coalition partners on the terms of these security guarantees on land, in the air, and at sea, and I would not rule out the presence of troops, yes.
Today, leaders also discussed NATO News Pearl program for buying U.S. weapons for Ukraine. Canada will be the first non-European country to join, adding $500 million to the $1.5 billion already pledged in military aid. On the top of that, the Canadian Prime Minister announced more than $700 million in additional military support. The two sides also agreed to start producing drones, which President Zelensky said are a top priority for the country. Canada is putting up $2 million for the joint production of this equipment. The Trump administration approved the sale of 3,350 extended-range attack munition air-to-ground missiles to Ukraine. U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal that the Ukrainian military could receive the weapons within the next 6 weeks. The $850 million weapons package, mostly funded by European countries, includes a range of other equipment. Delivery has been delayed until after President Trump's summits with Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky. Sources say using the weapons may also require Pentagon approval. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Pentagon has blocked Ukraine from using long-range missiles against targets in Russia for months. A high-level approval process at the U.S. Department of Defense, which was never announced, has prevented Ukraine from launching American ATACMS tactical missiles at Russian territory since late spring. President Zelensky, commenting on this report, said Ukraine does not coordinate strike targets in Russia with the US and relies on domestically produced weapons.
To be honest, we are currently using our domestically produced long-range weapons. And to be honest, we have not been discussing such issues with the United States recently. Once upon a time, as you remember, there were various signals about our retaliatory strikes after their strikes on our energy sector. Today, we don't even mention it. For me, this is news.
China is reportedly considering sending peacekeepers to Ukraine, but only under certain conditions. This was reported by the German newspaper Welt am Sonntag. European diplomats say Beijing has confirmed it willing to take part in a peacekeeping mission, but there is a catch. China would only participate if the operation is conducted under a UN mandate. Brussels has reacted with caution. Support from Global South countries could help push the idea of peacekeepers in Ukraine, but the EU worries China might use the mission for spying or take a pro-Russia stance instead of staying neutral. On top of that, most EU states are not ready to give peacekeepers a full UN mandate. According to media reports, during his meeting with Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin did not oppose security guarantees for Ukraine and even mentioned China as a potential provider. President Zelensky, however, dismissed the idea of China as a future security guarantor. Beijing responded quickly. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said China supports peace in Ukraine, carefully calling it a crisis instead of a war.
China has always been open and above board on the Ukraine crisis, adhering to an objective and impartial position, and all parties are clear about this. We believe all parties should uphold the concept of common, comprehensive, cooperative and sustainable security and promote a political solution to the Ukraine crisis. China is willing to play a constructive role in this regard.
Turkey is also considering sending troops to Ukraine as a part of security guarantees. Ukrainian Ambassador Nariman Jalal said this following talks with Turkey's defense minister.
Just yesterday, I had a meeting with Turkish Defense Minister Yasir Güler, and we had a very good conversation. Turkey is ready to join the Black Sea demining efforts in the near future.
The diplomat also said Turkey is considering taking part in humanitarian landmine clearance on the ground. He added that Turkey is among 10 countries potentially ready to send troops to Ukraine as a part of security guarantees if a peace deal with Russia can be reached. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our new X account, War and Politics 24, for the latest updates.